What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Worship Sound Co. podcast. My name is Jesse Phillips. I'm a session guitar player and bass player in Nashville, and I'm here with my friend Johnny.
Hey, everybody. So my name's Johnny Miller, and like Jesse, also play guitar. Don't really slap the bass, but work with some just different artists in town, and try to do the music thing.
One thing that we both have in common is we like the business side of things, and we were talking one day about gear, and we were just like, we should just create a thing, just a thing for guitarists and bassists, and maybe in the future some other instruments, but just kind of starting it. So don't expect anything great from this podcast. Or maybe expect all of it.
Mediocre.
Yeah, just give us a solid 3 stars review.
Yes, make sure it's
wherever
on
you're
Yelp.
hearing this. Exactly. We have a specific topic for this podcast, and that is paid musicians versus unpaid musicians in church. And so this is a kind of a hot topic for some people because, I mean, you go to a church and sometimes the musicians are paid while nobody else volunteering is paid. And so people have different thoughts about this. So we just want to dive in. I'll start by asking you, Johnny, have you ever served at a place that pays their musicians?
Yeah, so it's definitely a thing, and I've experienced it, and I think there's good and bad, to it. And
What's your experience been like in those places? Have you found it like a positive experience where they're paying you and you feel like, oh, wow, they saw what I put into it and they rewarded that? Or has it been like weird where people are like, I'm putting just as much effort?
Right.
How has the experience been?
In my experience, honestly, it kind of always felt hush-hush. Like I've never really felt like I could just discuss with my friends in church or other team leaders or anything like that about like, I also get paid to do this.
I've served in plenty of churches in the past that don't pay, but also served at places that do.
Yeah.
And I think for both of us, obviously, that's not what it's about. It's not about getting money. But at the same time, it is a nice thing where when you're serving and they do say, here's some money for your effort, it's like, oh, wow, cool. I would do this anyway. And that's like a bonus for me.
Yeah.
But I do feel like there's a lot of ickiness surrounding it, almost the hush-hush nature of like, yeah, we're paying this person and we're not paying you, so don't think about it. Like, don't talk about it because it could get weird. And when you do bring it up or someone brings it up and they're like, hey, are you paid on Sundays to play? And you're like, why do I feel weird saying yes? Like, it all of a sudden feels like a weird thing. So
it's definitely a weird thing. I mean, I feel like everyone's just kind of, it's just negative.
Yeah.
It's just kind of negative, and I've not really had a good positive situation where it was like I felt comfortable to be like, I get paid.
And it's a little weird too because we're both musicians, and that's like what we do for an income.
Right.
So I think that there's a little bit of a different feel to it too when that's kind of our job and we're doing it at church as well. And there's payment going on there. It's almost like, are we serving? Is this a gig? Is this, there's a lot of questions around that. But do you have a position on whether or not musicians should be paid?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it all boils down to the heart of the person who is serving or who is involved with the musician, which I think that can be said about everybody within the church. First off, even if it's a pastor or events team leader or whatever. Like, I think at the very heart, pun intended, of things, it's about the heart and about are they there to serve the kingdom, the church, the people, or are they just there to have a stage?
Yeah.
Are they just there to be in the limelight, or are they just there to make money? Because maybe that's can be a lot of money to people or not, or whatever, And so I think it all starts with the heart of it, and that may be very broad, but I think it's still something that is a part of it for sure. And I would definitely say that if churches have a budget to be able to pay their musicians, I think that they should. And, like that could take many different trails. That can go many different ways. That can look very different depending on the church. Maybe they pay in like, not necessarily money. Like maybe they pay in like some sort of like help or something like that. Or food, coupon books, Panera gift cards,
Chick-fil-A. Well, if we're talking about the church, it'd
that
probably
is very
be Chick-fil-A.
true. Christian chicken.
I agree with that. I think to me, it kind of boils down to the philosophy behind paying, because you could also look at, Christian artists that travel and lead worship at churches, and you're like, well, why do we pay them? Well, it's their job. Well, okay, yeah, I get that.
Right.
But if we're also putting on a job here, or like the lead pastor has a job and he's paid by the church in most instances.
Right.
Yeah. So I feel like there's like other positions within the church or even within Christian music where we say, oh, that person would get paid. But I think ultimately, like you're saying, it's about building the kingdom. And if you're trying to pull off something on a Sunday morning that requires a specific talent, that person is not just showing up for 15 minutes to help out. They've put a lifetime of work into honing something, and they're adding to what you're trying to accomplish. I think that could be cause for payment.
Right.
But at the same time, like we were saying earlier, I think at the heart behind it, if the person, it's almost like a selection thing.
It's hard. Yeah.
The person you're having be on that stage should be one that wants to build the kingdom.
Right.
And if you pay them or not, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
Because that's not what it's about.
And they shouldn't be a part of your team. Yeah. And it's just like, and that is hard to vet out. You don't know people's hearts from the beginning, and you don't know if it won't change even down the road or what they're in it for. And so it's just like, any successful, I think, ministry I've been a part of, or any church or friend group for that matter, it all just stems from getting to know everybody first,
Yeah.
Spending time together.
Relationship.
All relationship. Yeah. And it's just like, that's the only way you can really vet people out, And so, to wrap it up, it's like, I would definitely say if churches can do it, it's a great thing. And it can be a blessing to people who have these talents and abilities, because they've definitely not just picked up these abilities overnight.
I'm even thinking about other ministries where, like children's ministry, where they have a lot of volunteers, or youth leaders that volunteer, coffee ministries that volunteer. I feel like there's opportunities for paid things within that as well that maybe we haven't even looked at. Being like, okay, if you run a business as a coffee shop owner and you're willing to give your expertise on a Sunday morning to help run and establish something at a church, I feel like that deserves just as much of a payment as someone on stage that's put time and effort and money into their craft. It's like the same kind of thing. And but I think ultimately the same thing applies to all people. It's the heart, it's the motive for doing it. And I think there's also this thing with payment, with maybe expectations that come from payment. Because a lot of times if you do it for free and you're a volunteer, you can drop out at the last minute and be like, sorry, I can't do it. And they're like, well, it's not like getting paid or anything. You're like, cool, put us in a weird spot, but we'll find someone.
Scary.
But when you get paid, I feel like there's a lot of like expectation, even though most of the time, pretty much any time I've ever been involved in a church that pays, it's not been like a gig rate.
Right.
It's been like, here's,
a stipend.
A couple bucks for serving. Thank you. It's never been like, oh, this is what I would get paid with an artist on the road.
Here's free pizza.
So,
which I'm game for that. Don't get me wrong.
For real. If anyone wants to pay pizza, I'm down.
Oh yeah.